Hello and welcome to the Lebenspraxis podcast, where we talk about things.
With Bartz and today again with Mariana Hilger. Today we talk about the animal layer, which is now an animal layer course. And we recently had the first workshop. It's already a few weeks ago, I think 3 weeks ago. Both of us were there, present at this workshop for the whole time. I was leading it and Mariana was there as a participant. And I think it is now, we had now time to reflect on it, and we want to reflect a little bit together here. So just a few words about the animal layer course. The animal layer used to be singular workshops for many years. The first one I taught in 2015, and then every year. And then I took a 2-year break. That was 2021 and 2022. And now it's back as a course, and that means there are 3 workshops and there is contact in between where there are exercises and tasks to do for each person in preparation for the next workshop and in going deeper into the material. So the first workshop now was 3 days, and I called it a preparation workshop. The animal layer is an idea, I would say, and the idea is about tapping into a certain mindset. When I was creating it in 2015, the question that came up that I wanted to solve is, okay, if there is the human thing, and the human thing often means to be like organized, rational, worrying about the future and the past, and from there creating lots of things, like lots of great things also, systems and great projects and so on, then what is before that? Where are we coming from? And what is this human layer building on? Like my idea was that it's building on something that is fundamental, like a base, the base of the building. Like the human layer is the walls, but there is a fundament that is below the walls. So then I came up with a few things that I thought would be the base. And one thing is the presence. So being in the now. Another thing is energy and being able to do lots of things without necessarily knowing how long they last or what's happening next. And connected with this doing is also the possibility for deep relaxation. So the animal layer is not about doing and being hardcore or something like this. It's about the balance between all these different moments of the scale of the energy that you have and that you feel. Like on the one hand, like really relaxing when you are tired, but on the other hand also what is when you're tired and you just continue. I think one main reason why it came, the first animal layer, it happened in sort of spontaneously. That's the funny thing about it, yeah. Story is that one guy that was a little bit more distant, not a close student, but he asked me if he can come to Berlin to train with me. And I said, yes, okay, you can come. Let's do something together. It was a time when I was, let's say, more spontaneous with my dates in the calendar, because it was before I had kids. And then I invited some other people that were close students and told them, hey, I'm going to do some intensive, a few days of training together. Do you want to come? And several people said yes. And then this guy dropped out. He said, okay, doesn't work out. Like I don't have the time. I cannot come. And then I realized, okay, now everyone that is here signed up is people that have more experience and that are more close. And also all of them are highly energetic. And I was actually quite happy that the guy dropped out, that I didn't know so well, because now I had a small group of people that I knew well, and I wanted to do something special because I felt something is missing from our practice, and I wanted to add this into the practice, what was missing. So I threw the people really into the water, that like they didn't know that we're going to do something special. Like I introduced that just with a few words. I told them, okay, you need to bring a sleeping bag and stuff like this. And that was how the first animal layer was, in a sense, spontaneously developed. And then the second one was, in that sense, more prepared for everyone. Like I had more time to prepare it, and the people that came that were actually the same people, like in the first workshop. In the first workshops was only like invitation only. Like a few more people came there, but yeah, it was almost the same group. And now the second one, which was 10 days, was the first animal layer that had a concept, the concept really, how do I say, clearly designed now. Like it was now much more clear what it is. Yeah, I like the story how it was developed, because it had this spontaneous thing. How many things did it do actually develop? Sort of there's an intuition and an insight, okay, let's do this now. And then from there it happened. But the thing was that I wanted to fill a hole that I felt was there in the practice. And I think what it then became is not just in our practice, but actually in the experience that people have in life, it fills a hole.
It's interesting when you say it fills a hole, because for me, the animal layer has a lot to do with you, with your intuition giving room for something that is there already, and that you perceive this, and then you just create a space for this to like be perceived by other people. This is something that I notice, like this presence or this slowness or this doing things for a long time. You just say, okay, now, yeah. It's just a way of phrasing it, like filling the hole. It's also a possibility.
Yeah. The thing for me is to work with the things that are already there. I'm really not nerdy, I think, not geeky in the sense of that I read a lot of scientific scriptures or something like this and then say, yeah, if you do this, then it hacks this and blah, blah, blah. But I look, it's a bit more mythical the way I work, I would say. Like with the doing nothing, it's just suddenly, like the story with the doing nothing is that I sit together with someone more in the south of Germany, where I was teaching to him a workshop, and we were just talking. I was staying at this place and we were just talking in the evening, and then he mentions this sort of at the side note, an exercise to sit down and to only get out of the chair when there is a really, really strong urge, and wait until this is happening. And this gave me the idea to sit down on the chair and do nothing, like this side sentence. And from there I started this to really practice this a lot. This was also around 2015, 2016. I'm not sure anymore which of the 2 years, but I know that in 2016 I started to practice this and do this almost every day. And I had a room in my place. Yeah, this was before I had kids. So I had one room that is that then later became like room for the children, that was just with some books and a chair, and there was not much else in there, so there was no distraction in this room, and I was sitting a lot just in this room. But I was also practicing this everywhere, like in the car or just sitting here and there. And we started to practice it in the group training, in the end of the group training and so on. And just happened from this side sentence of this student where I came to teach. So he gave me actually a huge thing that I then started to work with. And it's a very simple thing. I mean, I can explain it in a few sentences and that's it. And then you can practice it for many, many years. And what I do is basically just always remind again people of this and open the space. So a lot of the things that we do is opening the space for things that are happening. There are sophisticated things. Things are based on years of experience, like how to learn certain movements and so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. This is something that takes long to learn to get to the level where we are here. But actually, I don't think that's my main work, in a sense. Like, I think the main thing, the more powerful stuff is actually the things that are hidden in plain sight. We are not doing them, they're there, but we are not doing them because society asks for other things, that are more, on the one hand, more flashy, Yeah, like they jump more into our eyes, and on the other hand, because like the economic system demands certain things from us, or the human mind is a certain way. Yeah, but I mean, things like doing nothing, it exists for thousands of years. Like it's like nothing new, but we again need to be reminded of this and so on and so on. But like many things are very simple. Like you can have such deep experience just realizing you don't have to do something all the time. Yeah, and already this will change your life tremendously. So I'm searching for these things that are already there and that can be explained. Like the technical instruction of it is just a few sentences.
There's such a profound philosophical layer, I would say, of this doing nothing. And at the same time, it is the experience. I remember when I joined the first animal layer, I joined one in 2019. So this was my second time participating on the animal layer this year. And when you finish, after we finish the 6 days, 7, and then you go back to the layer, to this cognitive layer of trying to give shape to the experience with words and just telling people what you did in the last 6 days. Yeah, then it's interesting to realize how simple things are and were that we did to a certain level, and how profound they are. And this step is in the simplicity of it as well. And I remember I was writing some texts back then on the experience, and I was describing describing a lot of what we were doing, and everything seemed to be so not getting to the point, because that's, I guess, the point, right? The experience has such a unique quality.
Because it's about the reduction of words also. No? There's a quote from Arvo Pärt. I'm not sure how the quote is, but it's also about the reduction of the sound. Like Arvo Pärt is a composer. And the thing about him is that oftentimes there's a lot of happening, but also often he's searching for the reduction, like how much needs to be there. And there are several composers that work with this. There's one album by Yann Tiersen. It's called EUSA, like EUSA. Not sure if it's an acronym or something like this. Where he does the same thing. It's very reduced in what's happening. And that makes it very, very powerful. And actually, there's sort of there's a balance in between these two things. One is that we like when lots of things are happening, no? And another thing is when it's very like reduced in things. And you can see this actually also in the watching behavior of people when they watch videos, because on YouTube there is a lot of this fast-paced videos. That's all pretty clear for us because they are a lot in the cultural discourse also, about things are getting quicker and cut very fast and so on. But actually there's another side. There's a side of, there's this side of videos that are very, very low pace and where there's very little happening, and it's very often about crafting, like a guy building a house in the countryside or someone making joinery with wood, and with no narration, or almost no narration, just pictures and a few cuts, but not speed cuts, just at a nice pace and very beautiful pictures. And these are videos that are sometimes watched millions of times. So it's not like a super small niche, but it's something that actually has a relatively big audience. And it's the two things are happening on the same platform. Like people are watching this fast-paced YouTube Shorts, TikTok style stuff that is like super dopamine rich sort of content. Like it's like whoa, yeah, like a constant orgasmic feeling in a sense. And the other thing is this deep breath. This okay, all right, now I'm just here. And the animal layer is definitely more on that side of the picture, the presence, the just being here. It seems like our culture is going more into the fast-paced, no? Like, TikTok, Snapchat. I have no idea about Snapchat, but I know it's something young people use, but old people don't use at all. But the other part is there. It's actually still very present in society. Sometimes you just need to look a little bit around a corner. Like the monasteries are still there. The monks are still there. The slow-paced yoga classes are there. The Vipassana, this Vipassana retreats where you have to sign up within 5 minutes when they're open. You have to directly sign up. They open, I don't know, at 12 at night or something like this. And you have to be awake and you have to directly sign up. Otherwise, you will not get a spot. So we're still very much aware how important this is for us. These things that are not the Marvel style movies with lots of explosions.
And everything else, like thinking of the 9 months pregnancy, things just are somehow slow and take time, or like vegetables that need some more time to cook than others. It's a bit of a jump, but it's there. Like this quality of taking the time. I just thought before that the animal layer would be on a cinematographic level, more or less like one of those movies of Alejandro Jodorowsky, who's a Chilean director, and who, that the movies that were not really accepted because they were way too long. So like 3 hours, 4 hours. This is like I see like a correlation with these things that are just like, it's just long. Things take time. And at the same time, when you are in the experience, when you are in the 4 hours, in doing whatever we do for a longer period of time, it's just, it's irrelevant. Like 4 is just, like we do this for 3 hours. It's just irrelevant because time as a number loses its importance. It just becomes this continuum, this river that has always been there and will always be. And I think this is also one essential part of the animal layer in my experience, is to notice that time is not on the watch, time is not, and even though I use, and I find it also very important for me to work with my calendar and block 3 hours to do something, then you have this other way of perceiving time where you're just in the time and you don't have any connection to how long does it take. It's maybe more like going back to that state when you were a child and you say, we need 10 minutes to be somewhere, and you don't know what 10 minutes are because you just have no reference. It's like you're just there in this previous layer of time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, children have no understanding of how we as grown-ups talk about time. They cannot do anything with 30 minutes or something like this. Yeah, let's talk about 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, something like this. Like it doesn't exist for them. They're just in the eternal now. And this is also why suffering for them can be actually difficult to bear, especially for the very young child. Like if a child is just born, because it feels everything is like an eternity. So if they're hungry, it doesn't help them if you say, we can eat something in 10 minutes, because there's no 10 minutes, there's just now. And then slowly we develop this perception of time where the positive thing about it is that we can delay gratification. Yeah, and we realize, okay, something is happening later, and there is sort of a grasp for what does this later mean. Like I will eat in 3 hours or something like this. But then the thing is to, again, forget about this, like to learn at some point I will be eating, and that's okay. I don't need to eat now. This can be delayed. And at the same time, if I live too much in the grown-up time, which is to be just in the present, glimpsing at it, but mainly jump around between past and future and present, like to go in between, then how do I say, it creates, like you have a certain, you're a bit like a ghost, you're not ever like a time traveler, like nowhere you're really fully, but everywhere it's a bit like you have this opacity, 50% opacity, like it can be, you are there, you can be seen, but it's also that the wall behind you is visible. I think it's a healthy sign if you can do things and you really fall into them, and at some point you look on the clock and you realize, oh, I wouldn't have thought that it's this time now. And that can be sometimes easy for high dopamine things where people get addicted and lose themselves, like playing video games or gambling or scrolling on TikTok or something like this. I mean, that's the danger of these things, that you lose track of your time because they almost want it from you. But the thing is to have that in the normal things: crafting something, reading, writing, training, walking, looking at a plant, having a conversation. These normal things that have normal chemical responses in the body. And to be able to do them without the time, the Chronos time, without looking at the clock. And like you said, Mariana, is a thing actually to organize this nowadays, because often it's not possible for people. There are appointments and all sorts of requests. And do you actually have the time to have time? This is what I provide with the animal layer, what we provide with the animal layer. But this is also something that I practice very regularly by myself. It's very important for me to have this days in my calendar where it actually says there's no date. Yeah. So I make sure most of my meetings, for example, are on Thursday. Yeah. So that other days can be more free of meetings, and that can be creative work, or that can also mean for me like not doing anything, just sitting there or lying there and so on. Or it can mean like that I have this creative energy just pouring out, and then I can work so long that sooner or later there will be a conflict with my surroundings. Like there will be the demand for me to spend time with my family again and so on. And of course with my small kids is coming rather sooner than later. Like I don't want to take myself out for too long, but in this phases where I can really like get lost in the things, I could easily work like more than a full day with doing completely things all the time and creating things. And this is, I think, because I very often go into the extremes of really doing nothing, and it can be that I do nothing for several days, like just lying there and doing the minimum that I have to do, like really just the super urgent or not even that, and like dealing also a little bit with the anxiety that, okay, I know there's this important letter that I need to answer or blah, blah, blah. But even like being able to even not care about this for a few days, and then after that suddenly like just comes out, and I feel like, okay, now I can just do and and I would probably do this more extreme even if the situation wouldn't be like it is, that I have my small children that I love so much that I want to spend a lot of time with them, and they want to spend a lot of time with me. So I make sure it's sort of fitting with the family, because as I said, otherwise I would probably really take myself out for 2 days with 2 days completely creating things. And for me, there's also things that are very connected to the animal layer, things that I also experience there, and this ability to stop doing nothing and then not to stop, to just go and continue.
Yeah, that's probably also one of the other key points beyond this. The time also that I experience or relate a lot to the animal layer is this continue. We continue, before it became like a slogan of Joseph Bartz.
A motivational speech.
Yeah, your minimalistic motivational speech. And I think this is also for me a very rich layer of entering into that space of that things just keep going, and you can just keep going. And this also brings to me another layer of the animal layer, which is the group, the community, the people, the being together in these different experiences of the time, of the keep going, the continue of doing nothing. It adds a lot to the experience. Do this in a group, to do this with others, because I think there's something. It somehow it makes it easier to enter in that space and to stay there. If you are in the group, I think this is a very natural phenomenon.
I think it's confirming also. It shows it's okay to do this, because it's a bit of a strange thing. Like, it's not the normal mode that we are going into, but we are a group of people that are doing this together. So it affirms or confirms that that's okay. That's okay to do this. Yeah, this is the space. It's opening the space that other people are doing it as well.
And it sort of renews the energy. Like, being in the group, it's always like the energy is always being sort of renewed, because you're not only relying on your own desire or lust of doing it, but you have this group dynamic. And maybe you are in a group of 5 people where 3 are, hanging a bit already. And then you have 2 who are more energetic, and then it feels like the energy distributes throughout the group. And I find this very, very fascinating also to observe this.
There's a lot of group dynamics, and a strong group can make the experience very powerful. And also, on the other hand, you feel very clearly if someone is draining energy from the group. And throughout the years, I had, several people going through these workshops and could do my observations and also talk with participants, and it's usually very clear for everyone if there is an energy vampire in the group, like someone that is draining the energy from the group and not giving back into the group. And clearly you don't want to be a person like this, because sooner or later that will create a lot of resentment against you. You want to be someone that is net zero or net positive with the energy. And of course, if you're a positive energy giver into the group, then as dull as it sounds, people like you and they want to be around you if you give energy. I almost don't like to say it because it's like too it has this simplicity around it and but it's true. Like, if you give energy, if energy is pouring out of you and the group is in that sense benefiting, to say it in this mathematical way, then you will be very welcome in the group. And if you are a nice person at the same time, then that's great. If you're not a nice person, then it will also create some conflict. If you pour a lot of energy into a group, but you're not a nice person, that this can be very conflict rich. But anyway, something energetic is happening if you give energy into the group instead of taking out. And if that is a good match of the people, then people are doing very extraordinary and great things also together. And the people that are maybe less prone to go ahead forward and to be highly energetic are supported by the people that are naturally higher in energy, because we have this differences, whatever, if they are by habit or by nature, usually a combination of both, no? That we just deal different with our energies, and that's why it's actually very good to have also groups that have some sort of a mix, because it can be supportive for each other. Just what is usually difficult for the group is an energy drainer, like everyone that has lived together with other people knows. I'm a bit hesitant because I'm actually never really lived together with other people than my partner and my kids. I never lived in a flat share or something like this, but I have, of course, 2 functioning eyes and ears, and I know that a flat share for a longer time can only work if there's no energy vampire in it. And that's also the reason why I like to do this podcast episodes with you, because we have a good chemistry, and I just know it's so helpful for creating the podcast. Like if the higher goal is to create, then it's just better to do it with you.
Yeah, I think we're not vampires to each other, at least.
No.
Maybe to someone else. I don't even know what sounds vampires make, but yeah, that was my attempt.
I think if they're in the bad mode, then they don't make any sounds. There's this like ultrasound.
Ah.
Yeah. And
Like
if they're
you
like a
could
human,
hear
they
it.
just make normal human sounds, I think.
Oh yeah. I thought it was something like when they put their teeth out before they
Okay.
they bite someone. Another key point, to use a term that you used in the beginning, which is something very funny to hear from your mouth. What are your key points?
ChatGPT. What are your ChatGPT? Please make 5 bullet points about the animal layer.
Finally, this is also always the conclusion of ChatGPT. I would like using this, less conclusion words. Finally.
My information dates back to September 2021.
I'm sorry if I'm using the incorrect data or whatever. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that the experience of the animal layer, this is something that became clear to me this time, is because the first time I joined, we were there for 6 days, and then I ended the 6 days, and basically I felt like my brain had gone through some kind of a stretching, or it felt like my brain was big inside and it had a lot of space. And I felt this for many, many days after those 6 days. I remember we met for the training in Velo, like a couple of, like 1 or 2 days after the animal layer. And I was sitting on the wall, and I remember I was just having this almost ecstatic moment of connection to the walls. Which is not something that you usually connect to, but I felt like very, wow, okay, this is so beautiful, and this appreciation for life in a very different way than I know from the daily life, a different quality. And when we finished now the 3 days first part of the course, I had it also in a way. It was a bit different because we're still we're not in the city, but maybe we went through also very familiar places to me. I think something was different in that sense. But I went back to my home in the bus, and I could sense already, I can sense the space. Something is like, it's it has more space. I feel like wider in a way, and as if there would be more space inside of me. And that's something I relate to this kind of experience that you create with the animal layer. And I think the short version of it would be, not the short version, but something that one could do is just to, like this doing nothing practice that you say that you do, and that we also do there, but also just when you see something, instead of now in front of me now there is a tea bag, and then instead of just doing something, reacting to that tea bag, then I just keep looking at the tea bag and see what happens. And you can just take time to stare at things and just take a little bit more time. Just I see the tea bag, and then I could do something about it, and then I just stay and keep looking at it. So this is something that reminds me of this feeling that I usually that I relate to the animal layer of having space. Is just this longer stretches to look at something or do something. I mean, it goes back to this getting nothing, doing nothing practice.
Getting nothing practice is also nice. Maybe we start this. Yeah. Yeah. What I also did is just sitting at home and listening to the sounds that the house makes, like the wood cracks sometimes and some water is running through the pipes.
I want to say also that I find this practice of the listening and perceiving and staying, I find it on the regular life rhythm quite challenging to integrate.
Yeah.
So if you find it challenging, that's
everyone.
That's everyone. that's definitely me as well, and it's okay. That's okay.
But the question is, what is the thing that creates this pacing of the normal life? Why is there this speed, this increase in speed, where it's said that nowadays we walk quicker than we used to? Why are we so fast? And to go into the slowness for me also has something to do with the ability to deal with anxiety, because I also feel it, like when I go into my slowness or my days of doing nothing or something like this, or these things, I of course also feel the pressure from the fastness of the world that demands quick action and immediate action and so on. So for me, it's always like there are these moments where there's nothing of this, like I just can do nothing and I feel completely at peace. And there are also the phases where I feel anxiety when I do nothing, that I do nothing now. But for me, the practice then is also, instead of letting the fast pace dictate my own pace and my own doing and how I live my life, I rather accept the feeling of the anxiety, because thinking about it, I know that when I also go into it, like into that, like when I let myself be dictated from it, then I will be another force that is creating speed. But I would like not to. I would prefer not to. I don't want to do the same thing because I don't think it's a good thing. So I accept there's anxiety here and there, sometimes very present, sometimes less, sometimes not there. But I know what I want to do and what I stand for and what I believe is the right thing, and I follow this. Because stronger than the anxiety is a deeper feeling of knowing that if I don't live my life in the way that I have to from within or from above, and to say it in a religious way, then nothing good will turn out of it in the end. Because now it allows other people, it creates again the space. It creates the space, and I already laid out in the beginning that the need is there and we are all aware of it. It's very clear, and the possibility to do it is created through people doing it. That goes for doing nothing, that goes for making music or doing a complex movement practice or solving whatever problem we have in our society. People have to do it against the resistance that is there, and that allows other people to join in as well, that are maybe less able to push against the resistance, to say it a bit violently, but then also become part of the solution. So when one person says, I won't get a smartphone, I don't buy into this, that you need a smartphone, it allows other people to also not have a smartphone. And then there can be a parallel society in a sense of people that don't have smartphones. And then, because then there must be solutions for these people as well. The possibilities to buy a bus ticket without a smartphone and all sorts of stuff. The alternative. That's it, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Feels like.
Nothing left to say. All right.
Bye.